Let's have a conversation. Hey, yo, let's chop it up, man. Hey, yo, let's have a conversation. Hey, yo, may I interject? It's about time for communal reconnect. Power of the we in some type of context. Working on the us so we can hit up what's next. It's that grown brother, grown sister type of flex. More like soul check, not just collecting checks. Fact, not feelings is what we got on deck. Take the high road, so this here is high tech. Getting to the real, very thing that we hitting on. Pull up or sit down, tell me what you sipping on. Reclaiming kinghood, that is what we getting on. Real headlines is what we spitting on. So, hey now, yo, let's have a conversation. Maybe take a sec to talk on what we facing. Only way to change is to change the situation. How about we break bread now and have a conversation? Hey now, yo, let's have a conversation. Maybe take a sec to talk on what we facing. Only way to change is to change the situation. How about we break bread now and have a conversation? Let's have a conversation. Hey, yo, let's have a conversation. Have a conversation. Have a conversation.
All right, we are back. Hey Flo, how you doing?
I'm hanging in there, TJ. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. We are the Real Bravado Network, and this is Have the Conversation. Before I get started, I want to just first thank people who have tuned into the stream, who have subscribed to the network. When we got started with this thing, we started with about 32 to 34 subscribers, and as of today, we're up to 400. Our goal by the end of the summer is to get 500 subscribers. Obviously, we want as much as we can get. We are also really, really wanting to get more people involved in the live stream itself. So we got two lofty goals. The subscriber count is great. That's fun. But we also would like we like to do something about the engagement as well. Okay. All right. Any comments on that, Flo?
Yeah, I would like to hear everybody's feedback. So please feel free to join us. Everybody thoughts are valuable. So please feel free to join us on the panel.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's get it going. All right. So like I said, we are the Real Bravado Network, and this is Have the Conversation. Before we get started, everyone, please do me a favor. When you are on YouTube, please go ahead, hit the subscribe button. Also, hit the notification bell. That notification bell will send you reminders about when we're about to go live. It'll send you a reminder like the day before, and then usually 15 minutes or so before we go live. Also, if you are watching live on YouTube, or if you're watching live on YouTube and you want to become a part of the panel or join the discussion, in the comment section of YouTube is a link to join the panel. So you get on YouTube, on our stream, go in the comment section, and there's a link. It's a StreamYard link. It's called StreamYard. You click that link there, put your name in the comment, and then allow your camera and your microphone, and it'll bring you right up on the panel. Okay, it'll bring you where I can see you, and then I'll depending on where we are in the discussion, I'll bring you up on the panel. So go ahead and do that for us. All right. Okay. Also, understand something here on Have the Conversation. We dare to be bold and not silent. Okay. I want real quick, Flo, before we get into everything, I got a clip for you.
Yes.
I want you to check this out, okay?
Yes.
All right.
Hello, this is Rebecca Lynn Pope, coming on real quick. You guys know that I have been swamped lately, but I promised I would come on and just share my viewpoints on why women are just, many women, I'm not going to say all women, but many women are very, very unrealistic about their standards for men, dating, and marriage. So I'm going to give my opinion on this. And now listen, girls, I'm about to be very raw. I'm about to be very real. I'm about to just shoot it to you as just straight as I can, because I'm hoping that this helps somebody. Because as you girls know, I'm a matchmaker. And for a large part of the end of last year and beginning of this year, I stopped matchmaking. And the reason I stopped matchmaking is because I literally I can't handle female clients. I was a matchmaker that matched females, and I had a few male clients, but predominantly I was matching women. And listen, it was such a valuable lesson for me, because what I learned is that the average woman doesn't really want just a good man. She doesn't want a husband. What she's really wanting are these standards or ideas that she has of what a man is supposed to be. But this is nothing what men are. This is not realistic for who men are, how they think, what they value. It's just this preconceived, idea that women have of who men should be. But this is not reality. Okay. So, literally, the standards here that I see consistently in women that stay single, do not get married, and the difference between women and wives is understanding, one, that men are not women. He's not going to be your best friend like your best girlfriend. You can't talk to him like that. They don't talk like that. They don't talk that much. They're not so sensitive and girly the way we are as women. So if you're expecting a man to be all super sensitive and so considerate and just so everything like your girlfriends, you're barking up the wrong tree. He's going to hurt your feelings all the time, or else you're going to feel like he doesn't communicate because you're holding these standards like he's a girl. I'm sorry. Leave that to your gay guy friends, or leave that to your bestie guys that talk kind of like girls. Your man that you're going to marry is not going to be like that, right? The second standard is this: you're comparing good men to.
All right, so guys, listen. So Rebecca started off.
So what you? Hold on, Flo. Go ahead. Hold on, Flo. Go ahead.
I think she got a valid point, because, like I said before, we women have a way of thinking. When we meet men, we can mold them to what we want them to be. See, when you meet somebody, it's either going to be just a chemistry that naturally falls in place. You ain't going to have to try to control or mold nobody to be what you want to be, because it's going to come designed for you. That's how I see it. So to me, she got a very valid point with how we women, we want unexpected, unrealistic things from these men, and it's just not going to play out. So know that if it's for you, it's going to come for you just that way. You ain't going to have to do much. What is for you, what is for Caesar shall be for Caesar. You feel me?
Okay, we'll get back to that. All right, so let's get down to business. Let me introduce myself, everybody. My name is Tavares J. Moore, and no, I'm not an image consultant, even though we talk about image. I'm not an expert in relationships or culture or history, but what I am is an average middle-class Black man who has a vested interest in the connections between Black men and Black women and the rebuilding of the Black family. Now, the way in which we gauge each other during this process and during these conversations, we as Black people have become comfortable with becoming very informal with each other, which sometimes can lower the ability to maintain respect and decorum. While we are having these pressure-tested conversations, as the facilitator of the conversation, I will hold everyone to the same standard of respect and decorum. We're going to attempt to do all of these things because here on the Real Bravado Network, we are keenly invested in her image, his image, and our image. And over here, like I said before, we're going to be bold, not silent. We have begun this process of trying to walk down our goals here on Have the Conversation. This is stream number 7. My standards, and I'm not settling. And we're going to tackle this issue as we continue to address things from her image perspective. So let me recap once again what we mean by image. Image is a noun, person, place, or thing. Sometimes we use image like a verb, but image has several meanings when you look it up in a dictionary. But the one that we operate under over here is this. Image is the reputation that a person is known for, which includes their behavior, their character, and their appearance. Another way of putting it, it's how you are perceived and it's your reputation. I mentioned in our first stream that before we can even think about working on like our national image, I raised the question to everyone all the time. Do we as Black people have a correct understanding of our own image? Particularly amongst one another. Do Black men and Black women have a fair, clear, and favorable view of our own image with each other? So let's get to our topic. In the next segment we call the Real Bravado Headlines is where we actually introduce our topic and we deal with our topic from a fact-based perspective. So let's get at it. All right, y'all. Black girl magic. So, how much magic is there in the Black girl? You know, the term or the mantra Black girl magic, I wish that it was a mantra that swept through Black America way before Fantasia popularized the term baby mama. In one of her debut singles after winning American Idol, she released a song that was meant to honor the baby mama. Ever since that song hit the streets, we can't escape that term anymore, which is, for me personally, I think it simply reduces our mothers to the lowest common denominator. Especially when no other group uses that term to describe their mothers, including the ones that are single. So now, Black girl magic. There's a bit of power in that phrase. Black women have been at the forefront of beauty, culture, and style ever since the dawn of time. Believe it or not, everyone, the people who pass on the culture are the women of the culture. Yet, so even though this is the case for our Black women, they're always last when it comes to corporations releasing products and services and designing products and services with Black women in mind, even though our women are at the forefront of all beauty, all culture, and basically all female style as well. So much like fine wine, Black women are specially made. That's if you got one. Okay. The Black girl magic slogan reads, from our lips to our hips, our hair and our sway, Black girl magic is who we are. It's in our DNA. It runs deep in our veins and we feel it in our soul. The term Black girl magic is used to illustrate the universal awesomeness of Black women. It's about celebrating anything that Black women deem to be dope or inspiring or mind-blowing about themselves. And that's just the start. Like Black women in general, their essence, their style, their spirit often very hard to define and hard to capture because each Black woman has their own little swag here and there.
Yes.
Some people might call Black women a little mysterious, but for a lot of black men, the right Black woman is exceptionally magical.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
with that being said,
Hmm.
why are so many Black women single? Is the lack of quality or qualified and fit Black men, is that because of lack of qualified fit Black men, or any other man or race? Is it just easy to simplify the processes or the reasons for why many Black women are simple just to those little things? I've heard everything from there are not enough good Black men available, or even more, Black men are intimidated by a strong, independent woman. So there's also this idea that the more successful a woman is, the more likely that the more likely she is to be single. Women who make their careers a huge priority, even when they explicitly want to be in relationships, tend to not be able to maintain a relationship with the same man that they deem to be on their level, primarily economic and professional. This is the idea of the power couple. And a lot of Black women believe that the more they have accomplished, the more attractive they should be to a highly productive man. But what a lot of our women that are out here achieving fail to understand is men do not pick women like women pick men.
That's true.
This is one of the hardest concepts to get across to our more accomplished women. Now, I said multiple times, I work in the hospital, I work in the healthcare field, so it's dominated by women. It's dominated by women who earn a lot of money, including like senior nurses and nurse practitioners, physician assistants, even doctors. I'm surrounded by Black women who fit all of those narratives, including administration in the hospital setting. And a lot of the women up there don't understand why it's very difficult to connect with a man that is simply their at least economic and professional level. A lot of those women think because they don't necessarily have good success with those kind of men, that those men are intimidated by their accomplishments. And convincing them that that's completely false is sometimes very difficult. They try to equate one with the other because they constantly go back to, well, when a man is accomplished, when a man has, he's found more attractive. Well, that's because that's women tend to would tend to want or would like to have more accomplished men because women have a biological and innate need to be provided for and to feel secure, and they should. Men don't have that need. We provide our own security. And it's kind of hard to convince those ladies that while all of those things that you are very nice, and trust me, they are nice, but they are not what productive, and I always stress on every stream, productive. They are not what productive, character-driven men find attractive in a woman. Those are just side benefits to most of those men.
So TJ, so tell them what productive men find attractive, because maybe they don't know. So
we've talked about it on several streams. Most productive men want an FBI woman, friendly, beautiful, and inspirational.
That's it. That's all.
Friendly, beautiful, and inspirational. And you want to know what we actually mean by that? We actually have a couple streams that specifically talk about friendly, beautiful, and inspirational men or women, and what that looks like for the men. So you can go back and look at that. But that's what men look. I mean, of course, we got our different personality things that we like about certain women, certain styles, certain looks, but we're talking about behavior, what we look for in general behavior. Okay? So, but ultimately, when I consider all the possibilities and all the facts and opinions that there are many, many beautiful, successful single sisters in to varying degrees. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. So I don't want women to think just because you are out here. And by the way, only 9% of Black women earn over $70,000 a year. That's not a lot. So those women that are in that higher earning bracket, that's not a bad thing because you are in the earning bracket. But one thing that our women tend to do, or just women in general, is when they get into the higher earning bracket, they want men on that same level or higher. But you have to understand that those men that are equally earning on that level or higher don't value your accomplishments the way that you think that they do. And it doesn't equate to your attractiveness. You can be butt ugly like Biggie Smalls and 500 pounds like Biggie Smalls and get model women. Try to be that version of a woman and try to get model men. It almost doesn't matter how much money you make. And of course, yes, there are exceptions to every rule, but we're talking about in general, okay? Now, there's an argument can be made that one of the biggest reasons that many women, Black women in particular, are single is because the better women do for themselves, the higher they raise their standards. And it doesn't matter what she's done in her past, but the more she becomes accomplished, the more she raises her standards for her male counterpart. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. That's what we're here to talk about. And her constantly stating that, and then also her constantly stating that she will no longer settle. I hate that term when people talk about, I don't want to settle. What are you talking about? We all settle.
And that's true, TJ, because I was just recently looking for a home. But in my mind, oh, I'm not settling for this and I'm not settling for that. But guess what? I end up having to settle in for this and that I didn't want to settle for. So it just depending on the situation, you end up settling some way, somehow. We all settle.
Yes. And no matter where she is in her life, and no matter if is fit to be with the kind and caliber man she wants, she still won't settle. I hear this all the time, especially for our higher earning women. I'm around higher earning women. I'm not gonna settle. Okay. And in her mind, she goes, why should I? And she's always comparing herself to what men do. As a lady, you got to stop comparing yourselves and your outcomes to male outcomes. Our goals are different, and what we need are different. They're not the same. And the other thing that our women tend to tell themselves is that she doesn't want to settle because she knows that there's a man out there who will fit all the things she wants on her long list of things, because everyone in her circle, which are predominantly dominated by women, convince themselves that there's somebody for everyone. And if you go to church, sometimes even your pastors will be telling you this. Now, if you look at the numbers, which I know sometimes people roll their eyes when we start talking about numbers. And let's talk about dollar bill numbers, then ain't nobody rolling their eyes then. If you pair every Black man in this country to every Black woman in this country, there will be 2 million Black women left over. There are 2 million more Black women than Black men. So if there are 2 million extra women, how in the world is there somebody for everybody? Unless some of y'all willing to share.
Those percentage, if that's the percentages, right, we go end up sharing. It's too many leftovers.
It's
So
too
what
many
you,
leftover women. Yep.
what
And
you think
depending
gonna
on where
happen
you,
with the leftovers? They're gonna
yep,
end up sharing somewhere somehow
yep.
if it serves me right.
So our women constantly walk around talking about that they're the prize when you are in abundance, but your men supply is not. I'm just saying.
Hmm.
From my perspective, simply put, our Black women have as their ability to achieve have increased, so has their need to be picky.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but the things that you need to be picky about, oftentimes our women do not. Especially when you start looking at the men that she decided to make fathers.
Hmm.
And then the pickiness seems to be some kind of mirage. You know, the common reply that I get when I ask women about this, when I say, hey, you got 4 kids now by three and a half different dudes, and now all of a sudden you got all of these standards that a guy must come with. Where were those standards when you decided when your value as a woman was at its apex, which is when you were single and childless? And the most common responses I tend to get back from our ladies is, I was young, I didn't know no better, I've learned my lesson, so I deserve better.
But sometimes kids, you know, sometimes kids put you in that mind frame to want those type of standards. You know, so when you don't have kids, you're free. So it's like you ain't tripping. But when you have
But that's
kids,
when you should be tripping.
now when you're
Because
free,
the moment you lay down with somebody, especially when you are in your childbearing years, the likelihood, there is a possibility that you can produce a child out of that. And a
okay,
lot of our ladies
but
tend to
kids put
forget that
things,
for the sake of being free.
kids put things in perspective for people that to be responsible. When you're young, you're free. So you basically just living life carefree.
And then
But
guess
when
what?
you have kids, you put things into perspective. So now your value, you think people depreciate because they have kids. That's not how it goes. You
But
don't
see,
depreciate,
but
because you just don't. You put things in perspective because of your kids.
hold on a second, Flo. You don't depreciate in your mind, but we're talking about a productive, character-driven man who wants to that he's the buyer of you. If you're looking at it from a market standpoint, you can't tell the buyer what the value of something is that he wants.
So the buyer have to go look elsewhere. That's what he's gonna have to do.
But the point of this is, when our ladies are looking, especially those of our women who decide to have children before they get married, and then they start looking for the higher. And I'm not saying, I told somebody this recently. She married somebody when she had 2 children who could not afford her or those 2 children. And I told her that was not the guy you were supposed to marry, because he can't afford you.
Look.
You can't afford to bring a man into your life who he already has to take care of you. And then you have 2 children, he has to have the ability to take care of them too. And if that man can't do that, he can't be your husband. So I completely get the mindset, but the question is, are the standards too strict? Do our women ever ask themselves that? And quite frankly, when you talk about because things become put in perspective, and because I learned my lesson, I deserve better. Quite frankly, you deserve what you earn from an outcome standpoint. These men that you want, and the men that you want, and the standards you have for them, when do our women ask themselves, these men, what kind of women do these men want? And why are you saying that you're not settling? Are you sure that man ain't settling for you? What do you consider to be settling? And how important is your long list? Do your list and your standards translate into you getting what you want. So, is black girl magic really magic if you're not getting the outcomes that you desire? That's the question for the panel. Let's bring up the panel.
I can't say this. F-boys. I'm just going to say it. You're comparing good men to the men that you've experienced previously who were not ready to be husbands, that you were just dating, messing around with. I mean, literally, there's a distinct difference between marriage material, men who are ready to be husbands, and these F-boys that you've been messing around with in out of these situationships with for years. And so now you have this standard for a man and a husband based on these dudes that have just been playboys, fun, boy toys, whatever you want to call it, girls, okay? You can call it whatever you want. But now you set this standard to say he's supposed to look like this, he's supposed to act like that. Oh, you know what? He's too corny. He likes me too much. He texts me too much. Yeah, because the men that you were messing with, you weren't even the only one. They don't text you right back. They don't call you right back because they have 8 more just like you. So a man comes along that is crazy about you and is interested in you, and I'm sorry to say, you have friend zoned the men that really you're compatible with, the men that would make a wonderful husband. A lot of you have friend zoned the good dude who's ready to be a husband and a father and give you some pretty babies. Because the other thing is men do not look like us. Let me be clear about this. We are the fairer sex. God created us to be beautiful, not men. If you get a pretty boy and they super fine and they in the mirror more than you, honey, rest assured, he probably got some habits that go along with that. He needs all the attention from all the women because he likes to feel like he's it. And if he's actually bigger than you, you got a problem. But the problem is you looking at visuals and thinking that men are supposed to look like us or be just as gorgeous as us. No, that's not how God created this whole scenario. You are the fairer sex. You're the beautiful one. You're the gorgeous one. You're the one that men go to war over. You're the one that men literally will kill for. You're the one that they're out here trying to make all this money to impress you, get you. Quit looking at men. Is he 6'2"? Is he look like Boris Kodjoe or Idris Elba or Michael Ealy? Do you know the percentages of men? This is what I just would die to say to my matchmaking clients and the people that would come in for consultations because they want to be matched. And they're coming to me. I'm sitting here just being a good woman. So I'm thinking these women just want men. These women just want a good man. Nah, boo, that's not what they wanted. What they want is if I'm going to pay this money, I want me a Michael Ealy. I want me a Boris Kodjoe. Well, look, boo, Boris Kodjoe's married. Last time I checked, Idris Elba's taken. These men are such a small percentage of the population. Do you guys understand that for a man to be over 6'2" is less than 3% of the population?
All right. Here's the question. Do your listing standards translate into you getting what you want? Black girl magic.
No, not all the time.
Miss Angela?
Yes.
Do your listing standards translate into you getting what you want? Not you in general.
And I'm gonna say, not all the time, because sometimes, like they say, you go 6'2", and you may get 5'9", you may get 5'10". You may not get that, and getting everything else us. So sometimes you may have to put aside a couple of things to get exactly what you want overall. The physical the physical attributes may not be exactly everything that you want to be, but
Miss Fanny,
yeah, that's
Yes.
same question.
Okay. So the question is my list of standards, is that keeping me from getting what I want? Is that what you're asking?
Do your list, I mean, and not just you specifically, but Black women, do list and standards translate into you getting what you want? This list that most women have, these long laundry list of things and these standards, do those lists and standards translate into you getting what you want?
In my experience, because I got rid of my list a long time ago, my experience, women who have had those lists and 38 things on them, no, it did not translate into them getting what they wanted. And I personally got rid of my list because I found that some of the things that I was wanting was it was just immature and childish. Like the woman was just saying, worrying so much about physical appearance. And because one thing I found out is if he is kind to you, if he's got your back, he will become very attractive. I mean, he will become very attractive to you. So the wonderful thing about being a woman, a mature woman, not just in age but in your mind, is that you have the ability to see past the fact that he doesn't look like Idris Elba, but he'll be your Idris Elba. So no, to answer your question, no, I've never seen it actually lead to actually getting what you want. No,
Miss
not those. Yeah, I think it's important to just have your core values, and if you have to have a list, just have that and stick to that.
Miss Kenya, can you go ahead and unmute? All right.
Yes.
What do you think?
Um, and was very superficial. I can say. My list was like I wanted the guy to be taller than me. I wanted him to have long hair, like dreads. I wanted him to have a good job, making either making more than I making, even either what I was making or more than what I was making. I wanted him to be this, and this, and when for some reason, the guys that I tended to date with dreads, they end up breaking my heart. So I was just like, freak it, okay. So as time progressed, and then after I had my son, which in fact, my son's father does not have any of that. He's not really tall. He's actually bald headed and everything, which was completely different. He broke my heart too, but like, my list it started to get smaller and smaller. And now I am, I'm in a relationship with a guy. I mean, he has hair, but he tends to keep it cut really short or bald. He's tall, but I don't really care that he's tall. He has a great relationship with his family. He loves God. He works. I don't really care how much he made. He's caring. He's kind. He's kind to me, and that was really important.
As a woman with children, you should care how much he makes. If you're gonna be in a relationship with this man, if you got to start thinking long term down the line, what happens if this man decides he wants to marry me? Because it's one thing when a man has to take on just a woman. He cannot necessarily be at his financial fighting weight at that point. That's fine when he's in progress. But when you are a woman with children, His responsibility, you know, and we've had this conversation about being stepdads and all this, that, and the third, but when a guy makes that decision, his responsibility, not only do you become his responsibility, so does those children. And having a certain level of income should be a factor, because you're making the decision for your children. They're not making this decision for this man to come into the process. You are. And you have to make the decision that's best fit for your children. Now, do I believe that income is the primary thing you should no. I believe I believe most women should lead with, when they're picking, should be based on character.
Yes. That's
And
what
if you lead with the character, you don't have to worry about a lot of other stuff that comes along with it. A man of character is not going to want to put you and your children in harm's way. And that means, but a lot of times when I see our ladies picking choosing their guys, it's very superficial. It's like how men pick. Men initially pick. Now, the women that men approach, it's almost 99% superficial while we're approaching you. Now, the women we choose to marry, is very different than the women we choose to approach for a good time. And our ladies have a hard time understanding, especially when they have a line of men approaching them. What are they approaching you for?
Right.
That's the question.
Yeah, not don't get it just kind of trail back just a little bit, when it comes to the man being able to, take care of me, and if we decide to have children together, finances are important, but I'm saying, I'm not gonna beat him over the head, make him feel less of a man if he makes, less than me or whatever.
The standard isn't if he makes more or less than you. The standard is, does he have enough to take care of?
Right. If he's able to provide.
If you're a $65,000 a year woman and you meet a man that's $50,000 a year, he needs to be he needs to take care of the business of the institution. And to me, the business is the home. So he needs to be able to cover the cost of the home, which is whatever the rent or mortgage is, light and gas, utilities, food, maintenance. If his income can take care of those things, then he has the ability to take care of the business of the family, because his job is to secure and anchor the family. So it's not about what you make or coming close to what you make, because you can out earn your guy. There's nothing wrong with you out earning your guy. But what comes into play is, what's the mindset behind you out earning?
Right.
Does that take away from does it take away from the fact that maybe his 50 or his 45 can cover the business end of the relationship? If it can, then what does it matter what you make?
Right. That's what I was, saying. As long as he's able to provide like he needs to.
And I'm going to say something that a lot of ladies don't like. Once you get married, your income don't belong to you. It belongs to the institution of the marriage. And that's a hard pill for a lot of our Black women to swallow, because most of our Black women, their entire adult life, they're the earners of their income, and they're the caretakers of their income. But when you get married, and the same goes for him. His income does not belong to him anymore. It belongs to the institution. There is no more your income. It's the institution's income. It's like having a business. The business generates the money. It ain't my money, it's the money of the business. Now who has stewardship over that and how that's managed is up to the two people who's there to manage the business. But that income, it don't matter if you, Miss Kenya, made $140,000 a year as a case manager and he made $55,000 a year. Then you guys are $200,000 home, income home. Don't matter who makes it. But getting our women to wrap their head around that, very hard, especially the higher the income. Miss Lucas, I saw you doing Miss Rebecca Lynn Pope is a multi-million-dollar celebrity matchmaker, and she gave up matchmaking because she exclusively tried to match women who earned 60 grand above or more, and she gave up on them because she couldn't, because they were never, because their standards were so ridiculous that she couldn't take it anymore. She actually found a guy for one lady who was a pilot, and because she didn't like how something about the way he walked or something like that, she didn't want nothing to do with him, and he was a freaking pilot. So, Miss Lucas, the question is to you: do your, when I say your, I mean in general, women's list and standards translate into them getting what they want?
And that's the problem. We was raised to get this list of what we want. Like my first husband, he was the ideal person. When you would see him, everybody said, "Yeah, you should be with him," because the way he looked, a good-looking guy. He had 2 jobs. He helped everybody, but when he came home, he was the devil. He was the devil. So when I got rid of him, I said, "Lord, I need somebody who got peace." So my second husband, hallelujah, he gives me all his money, and I take care of the bills. Hallelujah, glory be to God, because I need peace in my house. Hallelujah. And some people, they have that list. I want this, I want that. No. You can have somebody that's fine and treat you like a dog. I want somebody that's going to treat me like a queen. So as long as you treat me like a queen, we cool. So that's where I'm at.
Miss Lucas, to your point, my grandfather and grandmother, they both work for the most for the most part of the marriage. They both worked, but my grandfather, I guess my grandmother, 15 years or so into the marriage, she had to stop working because she got injured. But my grandfather could obviously continue to work. He would go to work on payday, come home, flop his check right down in front of her, and keep walking. And that's, in that generation, that's typically what happened. The men went out and provided the resources and brought the money home for the woman to administer the house. And Lord forbid, if he came and asked you for some dollars and there were no dollars there to get, then there was going to be some problems, because you supposed to manage those resources. There was going to be some problems. So it's not like he walked away from the money. He entrusted that you would do that. But, with today's day and age and everybody being this push for us being separate but equal mess, I really don't know. Dr. Thomas, how do you feel about it? You're a married lady now, so how do you feel about it?
Yes. I'm with Pastor Tamala on this one, because the lists are really unrealistic. They are very much unrealistic. For me, personally, my list was just thrown out the window when I met my husband. When I met my husband, I did not like him because of his appearance, because of his job. At the time, I was managing a convenience store in college, and he came in and he was dirty. He was dirty because he was an underground utility worker. And so my thing was, he was trying, the rap game and everything, and he's talking, and I'm like, you're just a dirty old man. I don't want to have anything to do with you. But eventually he knew who I was to be to him, because he came and told me, he was like, you're looking at your husband, and my thing was, whatever, because you're dirty, and I don't do dirty old men. But in 20 years later, I can say that, I had to really look at the list of standards that I had. And one thing that I think about today, as I was thinking about the topic and the standards that some of us women have and have actually placed, they are very unrealistic. But many of us also have gone through things in our past. Many of us have lowered our standards because of abuse and different things that we have experienced. Many of us have taken on things where we look for many characteristics of those who were our abusers or those who were our perpetrators. And we have taken those things on and they are unhealthy. So not only are some of our lists unrealistic, they are unhealthy as well.
Like that.
Yeah,
Yes.
just like that.
Yeah.
Christy?
Yeah.
Yes. I had a list many years ago. He had to be tall, dark, handsome, make X amount of dollars. And I threw that out the window because of the character piece. I've kissed a lot of frogs, and they stayed frogs. And so, I've dated men that were 5'5" all the way up to 6'8". Very varying personality traits. But he has to be kind. He has to be respectful. He has to be a good community. Have a good reputation in the community. And, considerate of people and his family. So I don't do a whole lot of dating because I've done a whole lot of working on me. And now I'm really not at home a lot. So it's difficult for me to meet people for that reason. And so I don't know. Somebody help me out. I don't want to stay single.
Yeah.
You say you do or you don't?
She don't.
Do not.
Who wants to be single? That's a lonely feeling.
I thought you said you didn't want. Well, that's another time.
No, ask the
TJ,
question.
can I
She said
speak?
she didn't. She don't
Who's
have
that,
to.
Miss
She
Thomas?
said she can by herself.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I don't never want to be lonely, and just the way the world is, I just choose to be. Not something that I want to be. I just choose to be that way.
Well, hold on a second. Fanny, hold on a second. Miss Thomas?
All right.
Christy said something that really struck me just a moment ago when she said she threw her list away and she began to look at character. One thing that I think we fail to look at is we look at the outward appearance. We have all of these different unrealistic things about that we expect a man to be. But when we really see the essence of a man's heart, I think that is what we should be looking at instead of the outward appearance. Because like Christy said, I kissed a lot of frogs too. I kissed a lot of frogs that did not turn into princes. I thought my husband was a frog. And had I not really began to see the essence of his heart, I would have missed out on a jewel. And so we have to get past the outward appearance. Mind you now, I have a prince. I have a prince. I have a king. Let me put it that way. I have a king. And yeah, I have a king. But I thought he was a frog when I first met him. And I really did not want to give him the time of day because of his outward appearance. Here I am, I'm managing a store. But at the time, I'm sure he was making way more money than I was making. I'm sure his job was a job that had substantial means. But because of his outward appearance, because of the way that he looked, he did not meet my standards at that time. So it's important for us to get past what the outward appearance looks like and begin to look and listen to the essence of the heart of the individual.
And then also, the universe is a reflection of us. So while we're saying, what can you give to me? What can you give to me? In like fashion, the universe is saying to us, what can you give to me? What can you give to me? it's mirroring us. So we draw near to us what is like us.
And
So
my thing
if I'm sorry,
now I
if
just
you've
wanted to say
got
something.
some unresolved issues within yourself, you're going to draw similar unresolved issues to yourself. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Miss Angela.
I just wanted to comment on what she was saying. You know, sometimes we have to give out what we want to receive. So if you're looking for this in a man, and you got to give it out too. So you say we got to be whole, and we're not trying to bring somebody to complete us, but we got to give out what we want to receive, and that's what she say. That's what I believe. You got to give something out into the universe in order to receive. So if you're looking for this in a man, then you got to give out some of those things so that it'll come back to you.
At least have it in you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Miss Fanny.
Okay. I wanted to address what Angela was saying about. She was saying, well, who wants to be single? So I have a mixture of friends. I have some single friends that think that being single is like being dead. And then I have some other friends, and including myself, that for the most part, they are just absolutely overjoyed to have, to be single, to have their own space, to be able to do what they want to do, that freedom that comes along with being single. The way I look at being single is this. If I have a nice guy in my life that I know cares about me, we share similar values. Um, he laughs at my jokes, I laugh at his jokes. Um, I'm gonna choose him over just me being here by myself. Okay, but if it's a choice between me being with some jerk, who does not respect me, then yeah, he can go, and I'm okay just being here with my dog. I'm okay. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that, and then Chris, and then you guys were talking about you have to give out what you want to be able to receive, and I know that is true, but the one
Yeah.
thing I wanted to say that really bothers me, because I was talking to some Black women online about this, and we all live in an integrated world. Okay, so as I'm near Atlanta, so of course I'm around a lot of Black people, but I'm around a lot of white people too. I have been around so many young white women or non-Black women who were anywhere between the ages of 21 to 26. They did not have it all together. They had issues, they had things that they were working on, but still they managed to be able to link up with such a really nice guy. I've met, fiancés and things like that. So I get a little touchy when sometimes I get a little titchy when people say, the reason why Black women are single, they have too many issues, or they
It's
need to
not
work
true.
on themselves and that kind of thing. I get because there's a lot of us that have issues, but that doesn't mean that you don't necessarily deserve a man of your own.
That's
You
Here's the thing about what I've observed about
And I'm always working on myself.
one of the things I observe a lot about non-Black women, especially when you actually sit and listen to them, their perspective on finding a mate and what a woman should do is drastically different. So yeah, they could have a lot of issues. Like I gave the example, I think a few weeks back, that there was this nurse and she has 5 kids, and she's not with her husband anymore. Had been with him for quite a while, but she's in a serious committed relationship with this new guy. And she was sitting around talking with a couple other Black nurses about how grateful she was to have this guy. And then the Black nurses were like, "What do you mean grateful?" I mean, the vitriol and how that struck them, said a lot. You know what I mean? Like, why in the world can't this woman be great? And she said to them, "I have 5 kids. He's coming into my home with me and my 5 kids. That's a lot to take on, and he does it with a smile. Why wouldn't I be grateful?" She goes, in fact, when I leave here every morning, I go home, make him a full breakfast, make his full lunch for work, and before I even go to bed. And they go, well, he's been at home all night. She goes, I don't care how long he's been at home. She goes, that's how I show my gratitude for him, knowing what he's taking on coming into my home. Our sisters do not have that attitude or disposition by and large when it comes to their men. It's like if a woman has 5 kids and a guy comes in and he's coming in with a smile because he's digging you that much and your 5 kids, the attitude that we tend to that I perceive we receive is we're supposed to be like it's our obligation. And so those are the difference in why they still can continue to partner up for a lifetime and they can have every kind of issue and trauma on the planet. It's about perspective. And I talk to our ladies a lot about our perspective and how we engage one another and how we view one another. You know, I always, you know, and you don't hear them talking about their white male counterparts in the way that our Black women talk about Black men. Most of us, you know, when you talk about we're serial cheaters, we're abusive, we're wicked. You know, we hear these things over and over, and most of us Black men we're low down, rotten scoundrels. A lot of us Black men hear this in our homes growing up. So their outcomes are different. Their outcomes are different because their attitude is a little bit different. Am I missing something?
Yeah, something popped up on the screen. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just want to put it back up there.
Mm-hmm.
TJ, dealing with what you just said about the different culture of women and their reaction to having that individual in the home and being appreciative of that, goes back to something that you said a couple segments ago pertaining to submission. Because I believe other cultures of women, they are more submissive to their men than a lot of us are, because of the simple fact that we have I'm a strong Black woman, and we take the word submissive or submission in a different light. I'm that way. Even with my husband would get up, go to work. I would get up early in the morning prior to him going to work, making sure that he has, you know, a breakfast, he has a lunch, he has his snacks or whatever he's going to need for that day, because that was my way of showing my appreciation. I appreciate you. I appreciate the sacrifice that you are making. And that's just being submissive. That's not saying that I'm bowing down to him or I have to be at a lower standard or a lower level. That's showing that I appreciate you. So I'm submitting my love to you, and this is how I'm showing it. And I think that that's a cultural disconnect when it comes to us dealing with that word submission and submissiveness.
Yeah, like it's a little dirty word. Your husband submits to you. He just does it in different ways.
Yes.
You know, but we tend to do that. So we have the way we engage with one another and our attitudes about what it means to couple up or be with one another is so rooted in it's so rooted in a destructive attitude. Because when you talk about being together for a lifetime, for some reason now, Generation X, Generation Y, Gen Z, you know, those of us that are born between like 65 and let's just say 96, 97, we have this attitude that we think that relationships should be easy all the time. And that's just, people are not easy all the time. I mean, people got kids and they don't necessarily like their kids all the time. But that doesn't mean you're going to throw them away. You look at Kenya, she's like agreeing, yup. And that's okay. You know, my grandfather and my grandmother, they were married before she passed. I think it's 60 years. Do you think in those 60 years that they didn't have years where they didn't like each other? They raised 5 boys together. You know, if I could share some of my grandfather's stories, man. He did something so bad one time, he was afraid to leave his house. He said he didn't go to work, nothing for 2.5 weeks. He locked himself in the basement because he knew that if he walked out of the house, he probably wasn't gonna be able to walk back in. Well, that's what he said. And he said, I said, why did you lock yourself in the basement? He said, I wasn't gonna have nobody in here around my kids. I was just gonna wait her out.
My God.
But we're talking about staying power, something that the grit that we don't have anymore. That my grandfather knew he screwed up that bad. He knew that if he walked out of that house, he might not be able to get back in there. So he hunkered down in the house, you know, until she got calm enough to even engage in the conversation about whatever it is that he did. Tennessee, I suspect what he did, but I don't know. You know what I mean? But that's a different way of doing things. But my grandfather, during the last, I think, 10 years or so of my grandmother's life, he was her primary caretaker. Bathing, medicine, doctor's appointments. He was that man, the attentiveness to that woman who sacrificed so much and surrendered her life to him. To him, that was nothing compared to what she gave him and his 5 boys. You know, but with all of these standards and the decisions that we make, and granted, we're dealing with her image, and so a lot of times it might seem like that I'm just picking on our women as if our men don't have responsibility for some things. We will get to them, and I believe it's a lot worse for the men. But we're looking at the decisions that we're making, the attitudes that we've adopted, and I said in our very first stream, there is the economic engine of this country has a vested interest in having the fact that 73% of the Black homes do not have a man in it.
Best believe it.
There's an economic reason, vested interest, that this country does not need us together. We're the economic engine of this country.
That's the reason why we are having this conversation.
We have 2 of everything.
None of us women wants it like this. It was designed. You know, it was a design.
And we're gonna, in a few weeks, we're gonna get to we're gonna deal with the Patrick Moynihan report. We're gonna deal with the feminism movement and how it co-opted the civil rights movement. So yes. We're gonna deal with all of this stuff from a historical perspective. But just because I believe that we all got a general idea how this happened. But why are we continually embracing the behavior? I think we're on autopilot. I think we're on autopilot, you know? And our generation, those of us that are up on this screen, our generation have bore the brunt of all of this. And it's up to us to pass down to our millennial generation. I'm not saying that it's like, you know, over for us, whatever. But I think what we need to do on our level is find the best woman, the best man we can in whatever their situation is, offer them some grace and mercy, and go on down the road with them.
Make it work.
You know? All right. I want to, real quick, and then we're going to wrap this up. I want to finish up Rebecca, Miss Pope's, her rant, because I found it so impactful, because she was a mating coach for women who gave up. So here let's listen to this last little bit, get our thoughts, and then we're gonna get out of here.
All men around the world, less than 3% of the population. Now you take out the gay guys and you take out the guys that are not Black or whatever race specific that you prefer your husband to be, and you take out the men that are broke, and you take out the players, the men who are just not ready, and you are not ready to get married, aren't even looking for a wife, don't want that responsibility yet, think about these numbers. Less than 3%, less than 14% of the entire American male population is over 6 foot. Less than 14%. And that's all the married men and the men in prison, all of them girls. So you're sitting around here like, oh, he's got to be 6 foot and he's got to look like this and he's got to make 6 figures or 7 figures. When you start at just height alone, do you hear the percentage that I just gave you on just height? Just height. And if you add in what he looks like looking like Idris and making money like this and that, honey, look, you looking for the come up for real, because I don't know where he's at. I was matchmaking, I would be like, man, I would go find these incredible men. And they would be like, oh, I would never date him. I'm like, I just went and found a freaking pilot, a ex-Falcons player. Are you serious? But he don't look, it's like he's got to be perfect. But you're not perfect. You got issues and unresolved issues, and you got a temper, and you're bossy and you're controlling, and men don't even like to be around you long term. You run everybody away. You think you're so much the ish that you're bougie and vain and stuck up. And men don't like it. And you wonder why you can't keep a man. You wonder why nobody wants to be around you. Sweetheart, listen, get nice, be sweet. Men are simple creatures. They're simple, but your standards are standardizing you right out of the game. Everybody else is getting married. Everybody else is having babies. But you steady like, oh, I'm not settling. I'm not going to settle. I know what I deserve. And you know, even when I post those type of memes, I'm like, you know what? There's some real stuck up women right now that are about to read this, and it's going to reinforce literally their false standards, their ridiculous standards. You know what? I'm not going to settle. But in the meantime, boo, you're not even half the things that you have on your list as requirements for a man. You're not.
I guess she said a mouthful.
She said a whole lot. She said a whole lot. You know, I years ago I dated a guy who would say, you know, Chrissy, it's always nice to be nice. And some of us as women just aren't nice. We're not nice to each other.
Yes.
And we're not nice to men. And what we put out, we get back. So it's always nice to be nice.
Definitely. I thought this was a good break of a conversation from, you know, the kind of the intense ones that we've had, because we got the next few are going to be pretty intense moving forward. But what drove this is just you get sick and tired of hearing about the standards, and I'm not going to settle. I'm not going to settle. And I tell some of the ladies, you know, one of the nurse, I think she's like gorgeous. She got 4 kids and she's gorgeous. She makes a ton of money, and the type of guy that she wants. And I would tell her, Miss Lady, if you're able to get that dude, he's settling for you. He doesn't have trust and believe. If you want this high dollar earning dude with these supreme looks and stuff like that, what makes you think every other woman don't want him?
Right.
And if he chooses you, that means he's settled for you because he didn't have to. Yeah. And a lot of times our ladies tend to forget that. Yeah, you know, when you got children, they're your children. They're your children. They're yours. They're not his. And just because he'll come in and be nice to them, they're still your children. And they don't have the same impact on him as they do you. And why you think, oh, they're just my kids and no big deal, they're here. Okay. And this is coming from a guy who was in the house with the guy who was not his my grandmother raised me, who was not his grandfather. And I think I made this comment before. I used to terrorize that man. And I liked him. That's what was so crazy about it. That was so nuts about it. I actually liked the man. He was a construction worker. Made good money, brought his check home. My grandma gonna get mad. I'm gonna tell this story. So one day, this brother, he didn't show up on payday, right? So he didn't show. He went to work, but he didn't come home on payday. He always come right home on payday. Bring that money and give it to her. But this one time he did not. He went out drinking with his buddies and got into whatever men get into. He come home that Saturday morning, and so he couldn't get in the house. And she's standing on the porch. He down on the sidewalk, and he begging to get in the house. And she asking about her money. Where my money? Where my money? This man walks up to the porch. I think he hands her $300 or $400. My grandmother takes this money, tears it up, and throws it at him.
It wasn't about the money.
Principles.
Look at you, Christy. That look on your face is the same look she had. She goes, you don't go stay out all night and bring me a few funky $100. That's what she said to him. If you want to go stay all night, sucker, you make sure you bring me that check. And I gotta cook for you, iron your clothes, buy your cigarettes. And she goes, and I gotta lay next to your stinking ass. I was like,
wow.
She went rough on her. But this man was, for me, as an adult looking back at this brother, he was just absolutely phenomenal. He was a phenomenal man in the house. And I told you, I liked him and terrorized the stink out of this man. Every time my grandmama left the house, it was like the bell went off, and I was like, ding, 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 I'm going to get this sucker. And he was a big, muscular, husky. The man felt like concrete. That's how tough he was because of the work he did. And I terrorized him just because I could, because I knew he was nothing to do about it. But I'm just saying, though, we weren't his. And you're asking a lot, and I'm not saying that man was settling for my grandmother. Maybe I don't know, but he was willing to get on down the road with her, and we got to figure that out yet. And we're in a generation now where we just how we view one another. I keep asking at the beginning of every series, do we have an appropriate view of one another? Do we have a view of how we value each other? And so
we can start. We can start. Sometime we can start.
Next week's stream, we're going to talk about specifically how we view one another, how our women view our men, what we actually think of our men by what we do. You understand?
Yes.
All right. I think that's it. Thank everybody. Hold back a second, and we are gone.
We getting grown up in here, right? 25 and up. Let me see your ID, baby. Yeah. Nobody move till we say so. It's that 3D radio with TJ Digger and Lady Flow. Real talk on 3D radio. Dress for success, so it's never fail. Grow delivery, so call it Gmail. Stay logged on till it's time to bail. Adults only, so now it's set sail. Don't act like you ain't heard what I said. Go on, little mama, put the kids to bed. Live on the net, you know it don't stop. Time to get loose like you do the wild. Need some advice, you know who we be. Relationship University. So like Marvin on the Mercy Knees. And on the intro, you know it's Big D's. We came here to blow your mind. Caught up like the folks that's on the crime time. Clap your hands cause it feels so amazing. This another TJM creation. Nobody move till we say so. It's that 3D radio with TJ Digger and Lady Flow. Real talk on 3D radio. Nobody move till we say so. It's that 3D radio with TJ Digger and Lady Flow. Real talk on 3D.